Good morning, everybody. I hope everybody is doing well today and enjoying themselves. Um, if you're having trouble with that test or finding it on Blackboard, please let me know and I'll help you out. But don't forget to take it by Friday at midnight, okay? And then Monday I will post your final and we'll be out of here. But we are going to be talking about water for this last week here in the class, okay? And last time we stopped, we were going to talk about topography and all that stuff, what makes the water system so unique and things like that. But it reminded me of one of my favorite things on Twitter that goes around every once in a while, which is a mangrove little wave machine. So they do this little waves and put it through a mangrove, and it shows the ecological service the mangroves are using. The waves are nice and calm by the time we get down here, right? So the storm surges from the hurricanes protect the coast, or the mangroves protect the coast from it, right? And it makes sense. I mean, it's just the way physics is. And with Louisiana losing its boot, it's losing all that protection, that millions of years of protection that was sent to the coastline and allowed us to build New Orleans and stuff like that. And now we might just lose New Orleans, right? But there's other things that go along with this, with cleaning of the pollution, and allowing the biodiversity and all the different life on land and stuff like that. So it's very exciting, okay, to realize how important ecological services are and how they work, okay. Um, However, we are in the video, in the presentation, all right, they do the whole section on the topography. We're just going to skip that section, all right, the marine and coastal ecosystems, because we kind of already talked about them. All right, we'll talk at the beginning. This just goes over the different biodiversity and the coral reefs and the mangroves and things like that, the estuaries. And we did that way back when. All right, but these are very important. And always remember, they have a right to, in my humble opinion, have a right to exist. But everything really is there for a purpose. So next time you go out to the beach or to a little wetland somewhere, take it all in and realize that there's all these little tiny microorganisms too making everything work, and they are very important, right? But we're going to skip over that little section of the presentation and go right to human activities and water and how we affect the waterways, right? Because environmental science is the study of the environment and the human impact on that environment, whether that's good or bad, right? Um, and like the mangroves, where Louisiana is losing its boot, and that is primarily, not all, because there is some natural decay, of course, but primarily due to our expansion and our polluting of the waterways and causing some dead zones to show up, and putting chemicals in there, and the Gulf oil spill, all that rigmarole. I finally saw a article about the Gulf oil spill. So someone, I think it's the anniversary of it coming up. So I guess we're done with current events. But if you want to do one anyways, go in there and look up that current event about that study that was just done about the lingering effects of the Gulf oil spill from BP. All right. But we're going to talk about human activities and break it down to two basic things. One is water withdrawal, and one is pollution, right? So we got to be aware of, with all these people on this planet, and we want to have clean water, we got to make sure that we have enough clean water for everybody, right? And we got to keep it clean, right? So those are the last two things we're going to discuss here in this class, okay? And the water withdrawal is very, very important because this is what's called recharge rate. And that is just, how much we take out and then how much Mother Nature puts back in via the rain. Right? And yes, there's droughts and stuff like that that change that rainfall, but we have a pretty good long track record of how much water the environment has been providing us over time and how much we take out. All right, so we track the rainfall and we track what we take out. This graph right here is pretty neat. All right, it shows the total withdrawal around the world from different countries, from the biggest to the smallest, in billion cubic meters. All right, and I don't know why here the United States just kind of shows up around 1980. I think that's when we probably just started tracking all this stuff, all right, and just joined the rest of the world. But you can see here it starts with Italy, Portugal, and Romania, and then some other countries show up. All right, we start having, you notice right during this, starts in 1971, right during that kind of that environmental movement. The United States was finally getting the Marine Wild Act and Freshwater Drinking Act and things like that. Not until like 78 and 80, and then they have to be implemented. And then you'll see that all of a sudden the United States shows up on this. So look at this graph. This is amazing of how all this works here. Turn it down a little. So India is leading the way. All right, and they got 1 billion, but China's not up here. Oh, here comes China. Okay, so India and China have 1 billion more people than the United States, and we are kicking their butt in 1988 by taking out that 500. And look at them just start, zooming up here. This is when they're starting to become developed nations. All right, they're putting 1.3 billion people want to be like us. All right, when you see ours is starting to go down, and China is starting to actually decrease a little bit, but India is still going up. All right, and now China starts shooting up again to the very end. So let's look at that very end there. Let's go back here. Pause that. All right, so you can see India, right, is leading the world in water withdrawal rates. So they're consuming as much, uh, than a lot more than everybody else, right? And then China, the United States, and then Pakistan, okay, and Indonesia. And notice this: India, China, and Pakistan, the three leading water withdrawal countries, right? Remember I talked about the water wars. Well, these three countries have been going after this one place in the Himalayan mountains where all the water these three countries get comes from. All right, they don't have big lakes, and I mean they have some coastal ways where they get some, ocean water and desalinate and do all that rigmarole. But the majority of their people get their water from the glacier melts in the Himalayan mountains in this one little region, and they've been fighting over that for centuries. Who controls that water controls it. Um, so it's going to be interesting to watch these three countries, the biggest withdrawers of the water, users of the water, um, handle this stuff in the years to come, right? And we've been tracking this stuff for a while, and it really gets insane how we actually track this water. And I just want to show you this one little map here of how precise we can get. We actually break it out into the different regions and who is who and stuff like that. So here, the blue is the public supply. The red is the non-agricultural. All right, so industry, okay, and then we have agriculture in the green and livestock in the yellow. And this is pinpointed the withdrawal from the aquifer itself. All right, so they're getting this from groundwater. Okay, and look how precise we see these different areas, and how population growth comes over time, right? And how we end up being from 1900 to 2010 of a withdrawal. Look at the population, the public supply going up, right? And that's in the Ozarks plateaus aquifer system, and we track all of our aquifers like that, right? And I always like to talk about Eleanor Ostrom. She was the first um, female to get the Nobel Prize for economics for her work in economics. And she's basically a mathematician. But what she showed is what we talked about before about what's called the tragedy of the commons, meaning that we put too many cows on the range and they eat all the cows, okay, because it's public land. But she has shown that communities can work together.
Exploration and mapping are important for understanding how the Earth works.
She showed that communities can work together with a common good. All right, water is a common good, and a lot of her studies goes and shows how communities by themselves put up the regime and shared that resource of water between themselves. All right. Yes, there are 5 rules that you need to have in place for it to happen efficiently. All right, and it gets a little bit more complex when you start uh, making society a little bit bigger. But I think those rules that she shows in these small communities that actually have a sustainable water source can be transferred to a larger community. They just make total sense of treating everybody fair. Basically, that's what she's saying, and have good rules and regulations for that common resource or common resource. All right. So she's the woman I always like to tout when it comes to understanding how to share this water and when it comes to water withdrawal studies. All right, and showing how we can, as a society, do it correctly. And we need to pay attention to those people who have done that over time and use water sustainably. Okay, but human activities definitely affect our waterways. So water is one of the most precious resources and is renewable. All right, but we can remember to destroy it if we're not careful. All right, we can make it so polluted that we can't drink it anymore. And the fracking water that we take out of those wells, that's what happens to it. All right, billions of cubic meters of water is turned radioactive and put down taken up to here in Allegheny County up into Ohio and put down deep into the ground, and we say don't come back. All right, so we take all that fresh water out of the water cycle. Okay, so people are drawing water at unsustainable levels and depleting the many sources of surface water and groundwater. The construction and engineering of waterways like dams and canals have altered about estimated 60% of the world's largest rivers. All right. So when I say we have dammed all the damn places we can dam here in the United States, I ain't kidding you. We have really re-engineered all of our rivers and all of our rivers here in the United States to meet our needs. All right. Believe it or not, Pittsburgh's Three Rivers would not be like Three Rivers if they weren't dredged all the time and we didn't have all those locks of dams that we engineered to be able to get our boatways through those three rivers. All right. And it would be a totally different ecosystem here in Pittsburgh if we didn't change how those three rivers actually worked. Okay. So freshwater and human populations are unevenly distributed around Earth, just like uh, all the fossil fuels and the gold and the silver and woods and all that other stuff. Well, Adam Smith had it right. The wealth of nations depends on what the natural resources that one community has. Okay, that one nation has, and water is definitely a valuable resource. It's something that all populations need to be able to live. All right, and you see here that up here is there's a lot of water up here in the north, right? That's basically due to it's frozen in the tundra, okay, frozen in the soil. Okay, it doesn't really have too many. It has some good big lakes, but not that many. And also a nice little aquifer underneath. All right, that's why the United States has a lot of water too. It's not just because of these lakes and rivers and streams. We have the Old Coal Aquifer right here in the middle of the United States that allows us to withdraw that water and plant all that wheat and barley and corn out there. All right, but it's very, very unevenly distributed. Okay, you see South America, man, they got a ton of water. Okay. The distribution of the human population does not match the distribution of water though, creating areas that do not have adequate local water supply. All right, so just because you have a ton of water doesn't mean your population is going to be huge, right? Because most of the biggest populations here in Africa, and look at China, all right, in that little area, India. They're one of the biggest users, right? But is lacking most of the water, right? So just because there's a lot of water there, not enough, a lot of water there doesn't mean your population is going to be huge, and sometimes your population doesn't match your water needs as well. All right, look at South America down here. They were going through about 2-3 years ago. Their biggest city in South Africa was going to shut down. They were calling it 0 hour. 0 hour. They were actually going to shut down the taps, the public water system to the biggest city in South Africa because there wasn't enough water for the citizens at a certain date. They did avert that. The rains came back, started filling up the reserves, the dams, and the filling up back up the aquifer, so they never got to that 0 day. But it came within like 30 days. It was real probably about 3 years ago. All right, and that drought's still persisting. Okay, they're not out of the woods yet. I don't think they'll ever be out of the woods because their population is already bigger than the water recharge rate naturally. Okay, and that's before global warming. So the majority of our fresh water use is about 70% is for agriculture. So agriculture is our biggest use of water, and that just kind of makes sense because we need our food, right? We grow a lot of food and water. Plants need water just like we do. And if we know the biome, understand the biome, the temperature and the precipitation, we can understand or hypothesize what's going to grow there good, right? And we can control the water if we can find it. Okay, we're able to bring in these big sprinklers and drip irrigation and drill to get into the aquifer and all this other stuff. So we have the technology to bring the water there, but we can't really change the temperature. Right? We are doing it now with global warming and all that, but we really can't do that. But since we have this technology, we're using it more and more and growing more and more food and being able to support our population, which is a good thing. But sometimes it comes comes to a bad thing because sometimes society needs that water to be able to drink. California is going through a drought right now, and the almond growers are fighting with the residents because the residents can't grow their or can't wash their cars, but the almond growers still get to grow their almonds in a biome where the temperature is great, but the precipitation is not right for almond trees. You understand? But since they have a water supply and can do that, um, bring that water supply in, it's great for growing almonds, and that's where the most of the almonds come from, a place where almond trees never were. Unbelievable. Okay, but hey, if almonds can become milk, you can become anything you want. So keep up the good work, people. The increased demand for irrigation has led us to consumptive use of our aquifers and surface waters, where we move water but don't return it. All right, so we can't put that water back once we use it. Right, it's once we use it, it's gone. We gotta wait for the rains and Mother Nature to actually replenish it. All right, non-consumptive use would be such as the hydroelectric dams. They are just the water is just running through it. Either does not remove, it only temporarily removes the water from the source. Okay, so it's not sending that water to a totally different area to have somebody else use it. All right, so that's the difference between the agriculture and the dams. Okay, all part of that throughput. The excessive withdrawal of surface water has led to many world's rivers running dry before reaching the sea. The Colorado in the southwestern United States, the Rio Grande along the U.S.-Mexico border, and the China River Sea is they are huge. I can't say huge. Excellent examples of how the water withdrawal going down the river has changed that ecosystem. Okay. Um, Dramatically. Okay, and you can see the water mining withdraw water. And we also have what's called water mining. Okay, the withdrawal of water faster than can be replenished, and it's taking place in many regions. So you saw those maps, and that one graph of how we calculate water withdrawal. Right, so we actually specified just down to the very end. Right to that single use user. And we can put it up into all these maps. And you see these red areas has high overuse, all right, meaning we are taking out more than Mother Nature is putting back in. Okay? And this red area is where we grow most of our food. Okay? Because it's a perfect biome. It has a nice temperature to grow these crops. Unfortunately, it does not have the water, but we have the technology to bring it in for the irrigation. All right? And all these, the red, the orangish, and the yellow are all overuse. All right, this is all overuse. So what we are exceeding the withdrawal rate that Mother Nature is putting in. All right, adequate supply means that we are not exceeding. Okay, so in these areas here in the world, they still have enough water to make it through. Okay, they're using it sustainable. All right, but excess water withdrawal can drain rivers and lakes, and it is just astonishing how we have humanity has over withdrawn. And here, the Ariel Sea is probably the perfect example of this. So this is what the Ariel Sea looked like in 1987. All right, and in 2015, this is what it looks like now. And I think if you get on there today, I think this little area right here is gone. Right? It's just unbelievable how we have done this. Okay, and this is not exactly in the most stable areas of the world, folks. This is from the Ariel Sea is uh, in Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan. All right, so it's part of the old Soviet Union bloc. All right, well, like Ukraine and all those little Poland and all those countries coming down the Soviet Union bloc that after the Soviet Union broke up, and they needed to expand. All right, even also the Soviet Union didn't do too good handling this as well. But they needed to expand, and they brought in all the irrigation and all that other rigmarole, and unbelievable. 1987 to 2015, that water's just gone. And this is happening in the United States as well. All right, we have the same kind of problem going on. All right, so instead of where there used to be tankers, now they have camels, or what is it, a llama. Okay, so the drying of the Ariel Sea has led to the loss of 600,000 fishing jobs, or 60,000 fishing jobs. The blowing of pesticide-laden dust from the dry lake bed, right, and loss of cotton production, and the loss of most of the cotton production. So it's trickling throughout the economy, and what they want to do is be able to grow the cotton, and now they can't. Okay. But also, this is, like I said, is happening here in the United States. And we think about ours, we look at the groundwater, the aquifers depleting more easily than the surface water because it's recharged a little bit slowly, so slowly. Okay, so we have what's called the Ogallala Aquifer. This is the aquifer I couldn't think of the name of in the last presentation here in the United States. And it's right underneath the Great Plains. All right, and this is where we grow all our good stuff. All right, look at Nebraska. All right, and we monitor this. All right, and we're taking out about 320 more million liters. All right, than the rain is putting back at you. Okay, and this is an unsustainable number. Okay, sooner or later, this aquifer right here will run out of water if we continue to take out more than the rain could put in. All right, but we, like I said, we have the technology to be able to get this water out, and feed the whole world. But unfortunately, we're not doing it within the limits of what can happen. All right, because like I said, plants need three things to survive. They need that CO2 to suck out of the air. Okay, they need the water, and they need their sunlight and minerals inside the soils as well, right? And without water, it's the minimum factor. So if it doesn't have enough water, they ain't gonna grow. Okay? It doesn't have enough minerals, it ain't gonna make it. It doesn't have enough sunlight, it ain't gonna make it, right? So we got to decide as a nation what we're going to do about that. So when groundwater was ever extracted in the coastal areas, we have a problem which is called saltwater intrusion. Okay, and this is happening in Florida, especially in Florida. Okay, because Florida is a peninsula, right, and it sticks out and it's surrounded by surrounded by water on all three sides. And what they have done, those wells have stuck down there and sucked that water, and they have to go deeper and deeper and deeper into that aquifer to get out more wells because it'll go dry. They don't drill it long enough in the first place. Okay, let me see if I can find you a picture of that. Explain this to you a little bit better. Let me see here. Google that. Here. So what's happening in Florida in the whole area, and part of the reasons why they are, geez, that's not big enough. What the heck? I'm gonna make it bigger here. Well, what happened is that they would first put the first well in here, okay, and it run out, so it will run out of water or dry up, all right. But we have the technology to go a little bit deeper, and the deeper we have to go, the water over millions and millions of years was salt water to begin with, all right. But all that stuff is settled down here onto the bottom, and there's this brackish water that's in all aquifers that is just nasty stuff, all right. So we don't want to drink that junk, okay? But since we have been depleting the aquifer, so the water table starts here, but now the old well would, end up right here and just not take out. It would be missing all the water, all right? Because all the water is gone. We dig down deeper and we pull this stuff from the bottom back up and start mixing it in with the fresh water that is separated over millions and millions of years and makes it impossible for us to drink. So we can do two things. We can either bring it out and clean it and put it back in, which is not too advantageous, or we just wait until it settles down again and go after it. We can also do it on the lateral intrusion, right? We can be drilling too close to the shoreline and pull that salt water inside to get it all mixed up inside with the good water, right? So Florida is about half of Florida right now. Aquifer is all we are unable to drink out of them, and that's part of the reason why Florida, Georgia, and Mississippi are fighting over fresh water. Right? Florida says, "Hey, we can't drink out of our aquifers anymore, and we need to get it out of Lake Lanier." Okay, and also they also talk about irrigation. Georgia wants to be able to use that water for irrigation, and Florida needs it to keep on running down the rivers and streams so that the oysters don't go bad. All right, it's crazy how water connects all of these people. All right, aquifers also lose water when they become less able to support overlying strata caused by the land surface to subside. This causes buildings to lean and large areas of land to suddenly collapse, creating what's called sinkholes. I don't know if you guys ever seen a sinkhole before, but cars get swollen up on them. So what happens is the water. Let's see here. The water is no longer holding up, supporting this landmass. All right, so there's a gap of air here, basically. And sooner or later, if there's a big building on top of it, it comes crashing down. All right. There was one guy in Florida. This happens in Florida a lot. This one guy's house got swollen up and just totally destroyed. He was in it. He never recovered his body. All right. His whole house basically just fell right into the ground while he was sleeping. Unbelievable. All right. But it's happening more and more. It's kind of like it's also happening in the tundra too, with the thawing of the ice and stuff like that. The land becoming much less stable. Okay. So let us stop here, and we will get into bottled water and pollution the next presentation. All right. All right, everybody. Have a good day, and we will see you tomorrow morning sometime. All right. Have any questions? Make sure you just drop me an email. Thanks.